When you're setting up for the dumbbell lateral raise, you want to set up with the dumbbells angled in the direction that you want to raise. And we'll talk about that in a second, but it's not with the dumbbells at your side. It's not with the dumbbells like this out in front. You're going to have them on a slight diagonal on the outside of your legs with your knuckles kind of pointed in on a diagonal. From here, we're going to do a slight staggered stance and a slight hip hinge, and I'll show you from the side in a second. And we're going to raise mostly to the side, but a little to the front in what's called the scapular plane. Again, I'll show you from the side in a second. You're going to raise till your arms get to be about parallel with the floor. A little higher, a little lower is okay. And then we're going to come back to that same starting point with our knuckles kind of pointing in on a diagonal. And it looks something like this. So why are we doing that little staggered stance, that little hip hinge, that little bit of a lean forward? Because if you don't do that and you just stand straight like this, as I raise, my body's going to want to counterbalance by moving backwards. So to combat that, a little staggered stance, I like a staggered stance. If you don't, no worries. And a hip hinge and a lean forward. This is going to be a more stable position so that when I do this movement, my torso stays in position and isn't thrown backwards. Now to reiterate, we're not raising directly out to the side. We're not raising directly here. We're also not raising directly to the front. We're raising on a little bit of a diagonal. We're not going to raise directly to the sides. We're going to raise a little bit in front of that. Not a ton, just a little. So instead of raising out to the side here, we're raising right here. Slight stagger, slight hip hinge, slight lean forward, and then this is the position and angle that you're raising in. So to recap, grab your dumbbells, have them on a slight diagonal to mirror where you're going to be raising, then get into a slight staggered stance, a little bit of a hip hinge, a little bit of a lean forward, all of that stuff just a little bit to get more stable. Have your knuckles facing inward on a slight diagonal, and then you're raising in the scapular plane, mostly to the side, a little bit to the front, until your arms are parallel with the floor, and your arms making, roughly a 90-degree angle here at the top. The biggest mistakes I see are not using a hip hinge and kind of raising like this, where the torso moves back every time you raise, or raising directly out to the side instead of in the scapular plane, or using way too much elbow bend where you're doing something that looks like this, right? I want your arms as straight as possible. A slight elbow bend is okay, but more elbow bend is not better. You may be thinking, how do I keep my traps out of it? First of all, your traps should be working 100%. Second of all, what you can think about is initiating the lift by pushing your arm to the wall beside you instead of thinking about pulling up. If you think about pulling up with the initiation of the lift, you'll engage the traps a little bit more than necessary. And remember, they should be working. So if you feel some stimulus there, that's okay. To limit that, think about having nice long arms, dragging your knuckle on the floor and raising the dumbbells out to the side instead of thinking up, right? Push them out to the side instead of thinking up.